Hello, friends. Welcome to the LeggLife podcast. My name is Adam.
My name is Sherry.
Sherry Beth, what episode is this?
76.
It is episode 76, and we are mere days away from what, Sherry Beth?
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving is almost here.
The American version.
That is true, actually. That's a good point. Yeah. For all of our international listeners, not really something you will be gathering around celebrating this next week.
Right.
Here in America, it is a huge deal. It is a day that is, when you think of Thanksgiving, normally what you think of is like the Thanksgiving feast, the meal, right? Yep. It's the turkey, the stuffing, the cranberry sauce, all of those things. However, the reality is that the goal of the day isn't just like a delicious meal.
Right. I mean, it's called Thanksgiving, and so it's about giving thanks.
And I feel like that's one of the things that too often we, and when I say we, I mean both Sherry and I, as well as like just kind of a culture, maybe rush past too much. Right?
Yeah.
We get to the meal, we get to the Black Friday sales the day after, and so much is focused on that kind of stuff that we forget to take time to stop and just intentionally think of all that we have in our life to be thankful for.
Yes.
To give thanks for.
Yep.
And so for this episode, that's exactly what we decided to do.
Yeah.
We decided to look back at the year 2022 so far and say, when we think of this year, what are the things this week that we really do have to be thankful for in our life? Like, let's intentionally look at the things to be thankful for.
Yeah, and you know what was interesting is that when we sat down to kind of like just make a rough list of things that we did or whatever, like things that we're thankful for 2022, it kind of like spurred more. Like as we were like, oh yeah, we did this, oh man, we did that too, and oh, we got to see these people. And so it was just like, it like just taking the few minutes just to like sit down and think, okay, what are we thankful for this year, became like a whole conversation.
Well, and so the last couple of, I don't want to say months, the last month plus really for us has honestly been it's been chaos.
Yeah.
Right? Just like a lot of stuff going on, not all great stuff. And I've kind of got to the point where I'm like, man, let's get this year over with. Like, new year, new you.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Like, check.
Exactly.
2022 is done.
And so I've kind of been feeling like the weight of that. And the reality is that it can be easy sometimes to forget that there is more that exists beyond just your current situation or circumstance.
Right.
And so for me, even in the middle of probably the hardest part of 2022, the last month or so, to stop and look back through our calendar and to look back through our photos and to remember things that have happened this year, it gave me a completely different outlook.
Yep.
Like, there is so much that we have to be thankful for.
There is, and so we just made a rough list. Do you want to jump in?
Yeah, and one thing I do want to say is that as we were talking about this was such a kind of like healthy thing for us to do together that we were like, this needs to become an annual podcast.
Yeah, I feel like it's something that it is on Thanksgiving. It is something that we do try to like kind of remember things that we're thankful for, and but I feel like the podcast is a good. Because, it makes us think of more than just like, oh, I'm thankful for friends. Okay, next. It's...
Or even like, I feel like on Thanksgiving, that's like something you're currently thankful for. What's something I'm thankful for today?
Right.
But it was really good to stop and remember like all of the things that I have to be thankful for in this entire year.
In this year, yep.
That was really good.
Yep.
So Sherry Beth, as we started talking about it, you and I, there was like one thing that I think for us this year just kind of stood out.
Yeah.
What was that?
People.
Gosh, you guys, we have said this for years, that the thing we are the most rich in is relationships.
Yep.
And we've gotten to see that over the past couple of years, right?
Yeah.
Even during COVID, things like the viewer cruise, things like Auburn getting to come and spend a couple summers with us, things like trips we still got to do with friends.
Yep.
But this year, for whatever reason, 2022 has just been, it feels like filled with people.
Yeah.
And I kind of forgot that until we sat down and started listing that stuff.
Yeah, and I think that was like the first thing that came to mind. Like for me, it was just like friends and family. Like the time we got to spend with people this year was fantastic.
And people that we have known in person, people that we have only known through like YouTube or online and got to meet in person finally, and then like family. And so it was a wide mix of who we got to be with this year.
Yeah. And I think for me, and we'll talk about my health kind of a little bit farther down the list, but I don't know, we can talk about it now.
Yeah, I think it's an important place to start.
It's an important place to start. My health in 2022 has been like exponentially better than 2021.
Well, hold on. Yes, for sure better than 2021. But I actually want to go a little further than that. I would argue that your health in 2022, especially currently, is probably better than maybe ever since I've known you. Like, I don't know. I don't ever remember you.
The last decade, at least.
For sure the last decade.
Yep. Yeah. But when it came to friends and family, I think my health played a big role for me in wanting to not take those relationships for granted. And it hit me. So my sister came up for my birthday again this year. She came up last year. And it hit me when we picked her up from the airport this year. It was a different feeling, but it was maybe some residual feelings from last year. But when we picked her up at the airport last year in 2021, I cried. And, a big part of that was that I didn't know if I would ever see my sister again. 6 months prior to my birthday, we didn't know if I was going to live to see my birthday.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was, I get to hug my sister again. And then, seeing her again this year, it was some of those residual feelings. Like, I'm just so thankful that I am still alive and that I have these people in my life that I love to see. And, we've got this whole list of friends and family that we got to see this year too, that I'm just so thankful.
Well, I think that one of the things that your, all the health journey did for us was, and it's interesting because, a lot of the stuff on this list really has been impacted by that.
Yeah.
Because what that did is that when you have something that's significant, you reevaluate priorities, right? The things that used to be important are not as important. And for us, it's like, if we have an opportunity to go on a trip by ourselves. So I'll just jump into one of these, when we think of friends and family stuff, things we're thankful for this year, I think of the cruise with the Zachmans.
Yeah.
This is such a good example where 5 years ago, if we were going on an Alaska cruise, we would have gone on an Alaska cruise by ourselves.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
But now the question we ask ourselves is, oh man, we have this thing we want to do. How, is there a way to involve our people in it?
Yeah.
Is there a way to do this with, our best friends?
Yeah.
And so it wasn't just an Alaska cruise that we wanted to do, but it was how can we do this with, the Zachmans in this case?
Yep.
And so I think back, one of the things I'm most thankful for was yes, the cruise itself, but honestly, all of the balcony time.
Right. I was going to say, I remember bits and pieces of the cruise, but when I think of the cruise, I think of Justin and Lacey. And
100%.
How much fun we had. And for my birthday, they sent me the best picture, I think, of the four of us ever. And it immediately took me back to the cruise. And they had it framed and everything, and it's such a good picture, and it's up in our living room, and I'm just this is the best. This is what made that cruise so amazing.
100%. And it was that was one snapshot. I think back to Deanna and Marshall getting to come and visit.
Yep.
Earlier this spring.
And all of the wildlife coming out for you, not me. Just the three of you.
Yeah, well, that's because animals in Alaska hate you.
Correct.
And so that's a pro tip. Maybe we'll talk about someday. If you ever come visit us in Alaska, please ask Sherry not go do anything with us because you won't experience or see anything if Sherry's there.
Do the fun wildlife things when I have to work.
That's true. But just getting to go on the whale cruise with them and getting to just be with them as they got to experience Alaska was such a highlight.
Yeah.
And I this summer, Jordy coming up here.
Yeah.
And getting to experience Alaska in a whole new way with her.
Yep.
And so just there are so many things I feel like that.
And going to see friends. You actually got to see some people on some of your business trips that I didn't get to see.
I did.
But you did. You got to see Rob and Sandy Carter. You got to see my cousin Abby and her kids.
Yeah, both those were on the Ohio trip, and it was so fun because that was, again, it's a work trip, but it's like, okay, how can we see people? How can I see people while on this? And I just love that things like that worked out. I think back to our... we went this past spring, well, not even spring, really, winter.
Oh, yeah.
To Seattle for a weekend basically with Cam and Laura.
Yeah.
And it was fun because it was Super Bowl weekend. It's like when I think back to that trip, I think two memories stand out to me that I'm just so thankful for. I think back to watching the Super Bowl halftime show in that bar in Pioneer Square before we all had to go to the airport, before they were taking us to the airport.
Yeah.
And then I think back to all of us going to like the Northwest Flower and Garden Show.
It was so random.
And how that came about. And it was so random, but it's like...
So fun.
You and I have had lots of weekends together in Seattle, and they're amazing.
Yep.
Right? We love
They're
spending time
always
together,
fun.
always fun. But I feel like the theme this year was like adding friends to our routine of life and the things that we do.
And doing that with Cam and Laura was just so much fun.
Oh my gosh. We got to see... even intentional trip, we got to see the Hansons twice. Mm-hmm. They were up here on a Disney cruise. We flew to Juneau to be with them. And then we spent the day with them on our way to Fiji.
Yeah.
And so just like so many random people in Alaska, people in Ohio, people in Seattle, people you know what I mean? These random connections.
People we still have yet to go see. We have plans to go see next month. We get to go see your mom and your brother and sister-in-law and Auburn and Sarah and Emma we get to go hang out with. And just people that we love. I'm so excited to go keep adding to the people that we get to see this year.
Yeah, I think that to me is that is the number one thing. When I think of the thing that I am thankful for in 2022, it is the fact that we have gotten to spend so much time and make so many memories with so many different people in so many different places.
Yep.
You know, it wasn't all just here. It was all over.
Yeah.
I freaking love that. Sherry Beth, another thing, you and I, as we were talking about this, that we're thankful for, is best served with butter.
Yes, it is.
Sherry Beth, what was that?
Our Dungy crabs.
Oh.
At the Kodiak Crab Fest, we ate, I don't even know how many pounds of Dungeness crab. And I regret absolutely none of it.
I take that back. I do regret it. I wish we would have had more crab.
I wish we'd had twice as much. Oh, it was so good. And it was so much fun to see Kodiak. I've never been there. And just a beautiful little Alaska town. And just, crab for every meal was fantastic.
Well, and it was so fun because it was such a good experience that I remember us saying, can this just become our Memorial Day weekend routine?
I feel like it has to be.
Can we just do this every year?
I need that crab in my life.
And it's that was, again, such good memories.
Yep.
I absolutely loved that.
Yes.
Another thing, and this one is kind of loosely, well, not even loosely, this is very much tied to your health thing. Because one of the things, again, coming out of your health situation was this new, how would I describe it? This new zeal for life, this new zest for life that you have. Where it's you know what? I'm getting my nose pierced. I'm done putting off all the things that I've put off.
Yeah.
And 2022, one of the things I am the most thankful for actually has nothing to do with me. It's your tattoos.
You got a new tattoo too. But tattoo too. I got 3.
Yeah.
This year.
From 0 to 3.
From 0 to 3, and I this week am actually going to reach out to my tattoo artist and see if she can get me in before the end of the year again.
Of course you are.
I have at least one more that I need.
You said need.
for my body. And yes, it's a zest for life, but it's also, I feel like it's stepping into who I am.
Yep.
And accepting me for who I am and the things that I like and the things that bring me life, and unapologetically.
Yeah.
And I like piercings, and I like tattoos, and I like crazy hair, and in color and style. Like, my hair is nuts, and it's and I love it. Like, it's curly and it's a mess all of the time, and I have never once regretted like stopping straightening my hair.
Yeah, you have, from the curly girl method, and we'll talk about this a little bit later at the end. I want to kind of how we'll end the podcast, but I think that it's seeing you step into all that stuff. And the tattoo is the most surprising thing, more than the hair, more than like all the other stuff, because it's something that you have always wanted but never thought you would be able to get because of your skin.
Right.
And like, you put in the work to research, you put in the work to find the right artist, you put in the work to find, you know what I mean? Like, all of that kind of stuff.
Right. And my artist put in the work too, which I totally appreciate.
Totally.
Yep.
And so tattoos, and yes, I did get, here's the thing, I got a tattoo as well, and it is my favorite tattoo, but here's the downside. I'm having an issue.
Uh-oh.
That tattoo that Spring designed is so good. How do I not just have her design all of my
Well,
this is my issue. Is like, I look at my other two tattoos and I'm like, oh man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that the one that she did is just so good.
Yeah.
And
really
so
is.
I'm like, oh no. How do I get another tattoo that Spring didn't do? The next thing, Sherry, is something that we've talked a lot about on our channel for a couple of years now, but that finally became a reality.
Yeah.
What was that?
Fiji.
Yeah.
It still feels fake. And you know what's funny? It's like so we talked about it in 2019 or early 2020 when we first booked it. Like, that it just doesn't feel like a real place, and it felt like a, fake trip, and then it got canceled, and we were like, okay, well, for sure fake. And then we were able to rebook it, and it still felt fake. And I feel like there's even, like, we were there for 10 days, and it was probably the best, most relaxing vacation we've ever taken.
Yeah.
For sure the most relaxing. And it, like, now that we're back, it still feels fake. I'm like, did we do that? Did I dream that?
Well, I think, like, the whole fake feeling, like, to explain that a little bit, is that, when you live in Alaska, everybody goes to Hawaii. It's like the default vacation for everybody in Alaska, the default warm vacation.
Yep.
And so Hawaii feels very real and very accessible.
Mm-hmm.
This is a place that, like, before Alaska Airlines had a sale on it, was never really on our radar, right?
No.
Because it's a part of the world that just doesn't feel like people like us go to.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think that was the thing that feels fake to me, is the fact that I don't have to pinch myself. Like, when I was pinching myself, I was like, wait a second, we actually went there.
Right.
So it's like, when I look back through photos, I'm like, wait, that's us there.
Right.
Because it just felt so like that's not the kind of place that we would ever go.
Right.
And we went and frickin' fell in love.
Yeah.
Can we go back next year?
Please.
Okay, well, we'll have to...
Can we go back right now?
We have to be in Juneau for Thanksgiving in a matter of days.
Dang it.
So I don't think so.
Okay.
So Fiji, not only the Fiji trip, but really what we got out of that.
What we got out of it. Yep.
And here's the thing that, we've been a little vague because we have to be as far as like how hard life has been the last several weeks. Mm-hmm. It's really interesting because the timing of Fiji, like, we had no clue the absolute shitstorm we were coming back to.
Right.
And being able to go into all the hardness of the last number of weeks, rested, and going into that stuff like clear-headed with from a healthy place has allowed us to, I think, be a help in ways that we wouldn't have otherwise.
I agree. And I also think that we put practices into place from Fiji that have allowed us the space to grieve and help.
Yeah.
That we wouldn't have had because we had other just shit going on in our lives, like, that didn't need to be there, that was just part of our life, that we cut out in Fiji because we just decided it wasn't important. And
haven't added it back.
And have not added it back. And so that just gave us the space to actually be there for people when their lives were falling apart.
Yeah, totally.
Around us.
Yep.
So
yeah, it was a lifeline for us, which has allowed us to be a lifeline for others.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So next, Sherry Beth, has to do with work for both you and I.
Yes.
Work isn't something that I think most people are always thankful for. It's like, okay, maybe I'm thankful for a paycheck I get from work.
Yep.
But I think both you and I, as we talked about this, there are things at work genuinely thankful for?
Yes. So yeah, I am thankful for like the generic, like I'm thankful for my job. I'm thankful that I have a job. I'm thankful that I have a steady paycheck.
Yeah.
Always thankful for that.
Totally.
But the specific parts of my job that I am thankful for, my boss.
Yeah.
Who, first of all, hates being called my boss. She's like, on paper, technically, I'm your boss, but like we're coworkers. I love that attitude. I also just love her. I mean, she, hands down, has been the best boss. She's been my champion. She's been my support. And I mean, I love her. As a person, as my superior, as my whatever. Like, I mean, I just love her. And I'm so thankful that she is in my life in the capacity that she's in.
Yeah.
In all the different capacities that she's in.
Yeah, she is like the model of a boss. And the thing that I love about her, just kind of watching from the outside, is that when work needs to be done, work gets done. You know what I mean? It's just like not messing around. We got a job to do. We're getting it done. But I think even in those times, she just treats you, and I can only imagine other employees, just so well. And I think that that's the thing, is like, yes, we have a job to do, but also we're people.
Yep.
And I don't feel like I've ever seen her miss that part. Like,
No.
the humanity, even when productivity has to happen.
Yes, and I mean, there is, pushing that sometimes needs to occur.
Of
like,
course.
you need to get it together because you do have a job to do. But if there are personal issues going on, she's like, okay, let's sit down, let's figure those out. Like, let's deal with them, and so that you can get back to being productive. But like, she realizes people are not going to be productive when they're going through something personal. You know, like your mind's distracted and there's things going on, and she's like, okay, let's talk this out.
Yeah. I love that.
I love it.
Yeah, and I like that you can look at your job and not be like, well, the purpose it serves is a paycheck.
Just a paycheck.
Just a paycheck. Because that's like, I've been there.
Yep, me too.
You know what I mean? I think most people, a lot of people would probably say that's where they are. But you have actual, like, a reason to be thankful at your job.
Yep.
And I think for me, as I was thinking about work stuff, so I've led a lot of teams over my career. I've led small teams. I've led teams of over 100. Like, I've been a boss to a lot of people. I've hired. I've fired. I've, like, all of that stuff, right? Like, everything that you can do as a leader, like, I've had to go through. And when I look at the team that we have right now, I genuinely don't know in any of the years of being a boss that I have ever had a better team to be on than this one. Like, it's amazing to me when we're in staff meeting and I look around that room and I'm like, how in the world are all of these people here? Because here's the craziest thing. I think the thing that I love about it is that it just feels like team.
Yeah.
It just feels we like each other. Are there conflicts? Of course there are. It's work, right? Are there like interpersonal issues? Of course there are. It's work. But it's a team. And this fundraiser we just did is such a good example of it. It was everybody pitching in. You know, was the weight heavier on some people than some? Absolutely. But like, it was team. And I'm just so proud of that because, I don't know, when I think of like results as a leader, I'm less concerned about the annual report and more concerned about like the people that I'm leading.
Right.
And I just feel like right now that is really, it's the right people. And that makes me, I am so thankful for every single person on my team right now.
Yep, and I really like them too.
And that helps. Like,
I have gone out with like girls' nights with like some of the girls you work with. Like,
it's true.
Because I like the people you work with. Like, or Yeah, I mean, you have a great team.
And it is the most random and ragtag and obscure way that we all got there. You know, it's like it's like all
the
of
island
these,
of misfit toys, and it's amazing.
It's the island of misfit toys, and it's amazing. That is the perfect way to put it.
Yep.
It's like the right people in like the right place with the right mission, and it just feels freaking awesome.
Yep.
And I love that because again, work doesn't always feel that way.
Right.
So Sherry Beth,
Yeah.
Lots of things to be thankful for, but one thing to end this with,
yep,
is each other.
Yes. I tell you this all the time. Maybe not all the time. I could probably tell you more. But I'm so thankful for you, and I'm thankful for the way that you love me, and I'm thankful for the way that you support me and stand by me and protect me. I'm thankful for who you are as a person and who you are to me.
Thank you. It's always a weird transition, right? Where it's like, I accept you, I accept that.
Moving on.
I don't know. Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, about me.
Next.
I was like, about you. I feel like this year, and even in the last number of weeks dealing with hard stuff. So let me back up a little bit. First of all, the thing when I think about thankful for you over this past year, it's exactly what we talked about earlier with the tattoos. So when we first met, not as like pen pals early on, but like in person, you, I don't believe, knew who you were.
I didn't. I had this idea of who I was supposed to be.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. You had this perception of who you were supposed to be by where you were raised, how you were raised, the things around you, what you were told. And what I have seen over the last number of years, but nothing like this year, is you discovering who you are. And it is so amazing to watch you be like, the Sherry that I first met never would have gone and gotten a tattoo while I was in Ohio on a work trip. Do you know what I mean?
My first one.
Your first
I got
tattoo.
Without you.
I know.
I know.
It's like,
I took my boss.
I know. It's like, who are you?
I know.
And I love that. I feel like you have gone from somebody who has the weight of who they're supposed to be, but has no idea of who they are, to somebody who is stepping fully into who you are. And what I love about that is like, my only job in that is to sit back and cheer for you and like encourage you to keep doing that. And it's so fun to see because I never know what is next. Like, you have become so much more unpredictable than you used to be. And that is so awesome because I really do feel like this is who you are, and it's so different than who you used to be. But it's so beautiful to watch.
Well, I'm glad that you still like who I am. Well, and that you like who I'm becoming.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. Like, I feel like who you are becoming is so much more true to who you really are.
Yeah.
And the thing is like, I don't think you've even fully discovered that yet.
I don't. You know, it's weird because I was actually thinking about that, I think last night, like laying in bed when I just couldn't sleep. It was just like, for whatever reason, I was just kind of going over like perceptions of who I thought I was supposed to be and kind of breaking out of that. And that's one of the things my sister and I talked about, was kind of unlearning a lot of things that, you know, we thought were true about ourselves and about culture and about, you know, whatever, all of the things. And discovering or allowing things about myself to shine through that I never felt like I could.
Yeah.
I think. Because it wasn't acceptable, because that's not who people thought I was supposed to be. It's not who people thought I was. And so, like, I bury these little bits and pieces of me. And over time, I just feel like, you know, there was a point in my life where I was just like, I don't even know who I am. I don't know what I like. I don't know what I don't like. I don't know
what I believe.
Yeah. I don't know, you know, there's so much about myself that I had just buried because it was unacceptable for whatever reason. And I think that I have been slowly It's like an archaeological dig. Like, I'm slowly uncovering pieces, and I think that you have been my cheerleader in that, and you've and I think that there's pieces of me that you see that you say, hey, I think this is what I'm seeing. How do you feel about that? And like you've brought some pieces of me to light that I didn't know that I had buried.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful for that.
Well, I think that's I feel like we talked about this maybe in one of the relationship podcasts.
Yeah.
Is that I feel like the job of the person you're with is to cultivate.
Yeah.
Right? It's to help draw out what is true in you. Right? It is not for me to say, here's what I would like to be true about Sherry. Right? But the reality is that's normally what you see in relationships.
And that's what I have seen
exactly.
in past relationships. And like, this is what I would like for you to look like.
Yep. This is the Sherry that I want you to be because that's the Sherry that serves me the best.
Yep.
But it's like, that's not healthy. And so to cultivate for my job is to cultivate what is true in you. And your job is to cultivate what is true in me and like call those things out. And I think that like, when I think of Thanksgiving about you, I'm thankful because a lot of people aren't willing to do the hard work to discover who they really are. They settle into the expectation, and this podcast has taken a huge turn.
It really has.
They settle into the expectation of the world around them. And they just kind of like settle into that.
Yeah.
And I'm sad at that. And so I'm so thankful that you have like bucked that trend and are actually, even if you don't fully know who you are now, you're in pursuit of that version of yourself.
And I think that I have been for longer than the last couple of years, but I do think that my health crisis last year really just kind of kicked it into high gear, and I think that there was a part of me that's just like, I don't want to die without knowing who I am and being who I am. And I got real close to that last year, and so I think that that it's just this year 2022 has really just been like, screw convention. Like, I'm just, this is who I am, and, take it or leave it. And so,
yeah, I feel like 2021 was, if I'm a writer, I feel like 2021 was the catastrophe and the awakening. And 2022 was like the start of the journey. You know what I mean? It's like 2021 was like the health crisis, the healing, and then that realization you just talked about. And 2022 is now like, I'm seeing you actually take those steps, and it's like just freaking amazing.
Well, I'm really glad.
So I'm thankful for that. There you go, you guys. That is when we look at 2020. Here's the thing. We could make a 10-hour long podcast.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many things and so many people that we didn't get to talk about. But we just wanted to give you like a snapshot and just kind of even practical. So if this is something you want to do, here's what we did. We sat in the Jeep.
Yep.
And we said, okay, let's think back 2022 since January.
Yep. And he literally pulled up like his camera roll. Like, I
yes.
keep mine cleaned out because I don't like things on my phone. But Google Photos is my best friend. But so I don't have any photos like on my phone. So he actually pulled up his and like looked through all of 2022, and we were like, oh yeah, I forgot we did that. And oh yeah, like that was so much fun just to go through your photos of this year. And that really like sparked our thoughts of like, oh, that's right. We got to see these people. We got to hang out with these people, and we got to meet these people, and we got to do all of these things. And so,
and then to make a list from that.
Yep.
And to be able to look right now in front of us on your phone, this list of things. And if you would have asked me 6 hours ago, hey, Adam, like right now in 2022, what are you thankful for? And I looked at the current circumstances. It would have, I'm
thankful that it's almost over.
Yeah, that's it. It's like, oh, I'm thankful that we're almost to the end of the year.
6 weeks.
It's crazy how like 5 or 10 minutes totally changed that.
Yep.
And now I'm like, oh my God, like we have so much to be thankful for this year.
We had such a good year.
That is the whole purpose of this holiday.
Yep.
Yes, turkey. Yes, friends and family.
Football.
Yes, cranberry sauce. Yes, football. Yes, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. All of that stuff. But don't celebrate Thanksgiving without doing this.
Right.
This is the why behind all of the what.
Yep.
Right? And so There you go, friends. So here's what we want to know. I bet you guys already know what we're going to ask you. First of all, Sherry Beth, how do they find this? How do they leave this comment?
Go to the YouTubes.
Yep.
And type in LeggLife Podcast.
Uh-huh.
And hit that little subscribe button.
Heck yes.
And the little bell button so you get a notification when we post a new podcast.
Love it.
But then also, in those comments, we want you to tell us, and this will go up after Thanksgiving. No, it'll go up before Thanksgiving.
Literally going up in the morning.
It's going up in the morning. Okay, so we want you to tell us what you're thankful for.
Yep.
And I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball.
Oh, geez.
What's your favorite Thanksgiving food?
Ooh.
What you're thankful for, and what do you want on your table? Just because I'm curious.
One food?
One. Yep.
I can't. It's
What's your favorite?
That is an impossible question. It's literally an impossible question because it's like Thanksgiving is the package. It's not a dish.
Oh, okay.
It's the plate.
Okay.
I'm getting very heated about this.
Wow.
Sherry.
Maybe just what you're thankful for then.
Because I'm feeling I'm
Whoa.
sweating right now trying to think of one thing. Oh my gosh.
I have one thing.
What is it?
I mean, I love all of the things, but pumpkin pie.
Is your one thing?
And like equal parts pumpkin pie and whipped cream.
Is your one thing?
That's the one thing I really, really, really want on Thanksgiving.
Oh, if I had to...
And good pumpkin pie.
If I had to pick, I would say stuffing.
Okay.
I think stuffing would be my number one. The problem is, like, stuffing is good, but stuffing is great with everything else.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Gosh, I have
sorry.
anxiety. I'm fine.
I didn't realize that was going to be... You're less thankful now, but I'm sorry.
I'm going to end the podcast and go take some pills. I need to calm down a little bit. You guys, we love you so much, and we hope you have an amazing Thanksgiving.
We're also thankful for you.
We are thankful for you.
Yep.
7 years in
Yeah.
to this LeggLife journey. We are approaching 2 years of doing the LeggLife podcast,
Yeah.
which is insane.
It's kind of crazy.
It's super crazy.
Yeah.
And yeah, we are 100% thankful for the community that supports us. So thank you
Yes.
guys. We love you so much. And we will see you next week on the next LeggLife podcast. Bye.
Bye.